All right, I think we've got it. Holy moly. Let me tell you, it just had a difficult time getting on here. Sorry about that. Let me fix this view and oh, here comes the kitten. She's been wondering where mommy's been all day. So she is about to kitten cam out. All right, pretty good, not bad. Okay, let me know if you can't hear me. Let me know. She is gonna be up in my biz tonight, aren't you? Are you gonna be up in our biz? You can't walk on the art. Period. You just can't. Let me put my tea over here. She wants the water. She's on my brushes, so we're gonna have to get that resolved here in a minute. And oof. I think I'm gonna go in and change his camera setting. So just hang with me for a second. It's a lower resolution, but it'll zoom out on me a little bit. Be a little more, I can show a little more of the art, maybe. Here, I'll make it a little bigger. Maybe. I'm experiencing technical difficulties. Funny, right? Okay, well, hi everybody. Welcome. You're watching Friday Night Dinos. My name is Wendy, and we are still working on Spinosaurus. So it's developing. I have been traveling, and I'm going to be traveling again here very soon. But I have news. I'll share that with you here in a little bit. For now, we can kind of just get started. If I can get my hands on a paintbrush, which is underneath you. Yes, you. And you're making a mess. You gonna get that on my painting? The kitten is very much wanting to be a part of things right now. So she is all up in my space. And I guess she's not really even a kitten anymore. She's kind of full size. Oh, now she's dipping her paws in the water. Okay, I see how that works. Missy. So let's see if I can get her a little bit further away from the thing. And we'll let her drink water because that's really all she cares about right now. And let's take a look. This is my brush holder. I absolutely love it. I think I made it probably 20 years ago, and you can see it's pretty dirty. And I just kind of stuff my brushes into the different holes. I've been thinking about making a few sets of new ones for my friends and I, and having a better flap to keep them in because this is so floppy they can fall out. So that's been on my mind. So I'm just going to set these guys over here to the side. Let's see. Let's grab, I don't know. I need a nice point and I need some flowy stuff. So like my Da Vinci, I haven't killed the point on it quite yet. See how that still looks pretty good. But I'm like death on tips of brushes. I really wear them down. This is another favorite of mine. It's a different kind of quill. It's a synthetic quill, but I like it a lot, and it gets a nice little thin point. And then I've been kind of working these with a firmer flat. So anything that's kind of firm, I'm looking in here and I don't see this Creative Inspirations brush. These are very inexpensive, but they're great because they're firm. I think I see some over there. So it helps me lift and pull stuff up off the paintings when I need to. So I'm gonna get this lid curled up in here. Maybe not. Sorry for all the noise, everybody. I have my cup of tea. And while we're waiting for everybody, this is what I'm thinking, just so you kind of have an idea of where I'm going with this and what I'm thinking. So up here in my trees, and maximize what I've got going on. I still have some more, I'm trying to have various greens and lights and working on these trees in the background, but I'm thinking that I'm gonna have some critters or shadows of critters kind of working their way through this back area in here. So you'll see I just drug the paintbrush over that and already lifted color up. So you gotta be careful when you're doing goofy things, or you will make marks that you didn't, especially when your watercolor is getting this thick. This is getting really, really heavy. And my page is starting to like peel up off of the thing and curl. And I'm thinking that I'm gonna this weekend mount this on a board so it's really, really flat, and I think that'll help me work on it. But beyond that, let's go ahead and add a little more, I want more moss on the left side of these trees and maybe lighten the right side of this over here. Play with some darks and lights up in here. We're gonna work on this fin and really starting to get Spinosaurus a little more developed. You know, building moss and things on rocks and depth. I've been working on it, but it needs a lot more work. And I love this layer of blue. So I'd love to have almost like more of that blue wash over that. But I think we need to do more in here. And I was starting to play with these tree elements. So I think focus. I'll be a little bit quiet on this stream. And Lebowski, welcome. Thanks for joining. Once we have a few people on, I'll share some dinosaur news that I'm pretty excited about. And I'll tell you where I'm going next and where I have been recently. So let me, we're going to grab this right here and hope that the kitten does not feel like she needs to be a part of this process. And I think I'll just set this on here and work it. So like I said, I want more of this green on this tree right here. And through here. And maybe a little more true green in here, just in some certain spots. We'll kind of see how it ends up drying. And then carry it over to here. And I think if I move all the opportunities for Pogo to get up and jump on things, I won't have as much trouble later on. So I kind of just push some things out of the way just now. And one of the things I was doing was trying to establish ground so that there was a sense of earth underneath all of these guys. So, I'm going to lift a little bit of this off in here. But I want some darkness deep down under. And I kind of started playing with that and establishing it in here. Look at me. I said I wasn't going to talk and I just can't help it. I can't shut up. I need to be like quiet. I think just putting some of this stuff in here may help. All right. So let me babble a little bit about where I've been and what I've been up to. I talked about it on my Tuesday show and gave a little preview. So that VOD is still up if you would like to see what I painted and what my thoughts were on the experience. I was in Niagara Falls, Canada. Oh, you want a story about rabbits? Or tell me about the rabbits, George. Oh, funny reference and very smart of you, Lebowski. As always, you're quite the clever dude. I went to Niagara Falls, Canada. And I was there for a work trip, but I went a day early and stayed an extra day so that I could paint the falls. I've been practicing painting water and I knew it would be a challenge and I just wanted to paint, go somewhere, set up my easel, and paint. So, couple key things that I found that I did not anticipate. Niagara Falls is, I think it's one of the 7 wonders of the world, and why that didn't register on my radar, I don't know. Sometimes I'm really, really dense, but I didn't. And so when I got there, one of the surprising things to me were the number of international visitors. I couldn't believe it. Like, I was absolutely blown away at how many people from all over the world were visiting. And they are incredible. I was on the Canadian side, so how I got there is I flew into Buffalo, New York. It was a lot less to fly in to New York and cross the border than it was to fly into Toronto and then travel over. So I flew into Buffalo, New York, and then caught, they have a service, airport taxi, and they take you from Buffalo, New York to across the Rainbow Bridge and through U.S. to Canadian customs, and then on into wherever you're staying. So I was staying in Niagara Falls. So they bring me in and drop me off, and it was pretty neat. Because I saw the falls. As you cross a river, you'll see the falls. You kind of can't miss them. The U.S. falls are more of like a straight across set of falls, and the Canadian falls are, how would I even say it? They're like a horseshoe shape and much bigger than the U.S. falls. So they're kind of formed in a horseshoe shape. And down below, they have boat rides. And the people get in the boats, and on the U.S. side, they all have blue ponchos. And on the Canadian side, they all have red ponchos. And they take turns going like into the spray of the falls. And as they pass each other, like first That's funny, Lebowski. That's interesting too, I'll tell you that. But, first one country will go into the falls and then their boat will come out and everybody will wave and cheer as they pass the other country, and then the other country's boat will go in and explore the falls. Interestingly enough, and a really good gauge to catch tourism and or participation of this activity, is that there were half the participants on the U.S. boat as the Canadian boats. The Canadian boats were like wall-to-wall people, all red cloaks, little ponchos to go into the falls. And the U.S. boats, I spent a week there. So I saw this a lot because I painted down at the falls. And so it's not like I was just there one time. I was there many, repeatedly. I kept going day, morning, night. I was there at different times. Same story all the way across. There were at least 2 times as many tourists on the Canadian side than the U.S. side. And I don't know what there was to do on the U.S. side. I know there was a balloon that you could ride in on the U.S. side. There's a big platform you can go on the U.S. side. But on the Canadian side, they have an entire midway. And then they also have they've decommissioned the power plant, the original power plant, and they've turned it into a museum and exhibit. And then they rent it out for big events. So I was there for a big event, and we took an elevator down 680 feet and then walked half a mile to a platform, it's not under the Canadian Falls, but it's in view and near enough to the Canadian Falls that you will get wet. It was fun and it was beautiful and it was exciting. Now, they've lit the tunnel, and that in itself was quite an experience to walk through it. So they've got all kinds of beautiful glowing lights, and the tunnel is made out of, I have a little bit of a Rayman brain, so sorry about this, 5,700,000 bricks. I think it was 5,700,000. I don't think it was 2. It was either 2.7 or 5.7. I'm fairly certain it was 5.7. So it's not a full Rayman brain, but I do remember weird, odd things. And in 4 layers. So half a mile brick in an arching tunnel that is massive. Like think big enough to drive. I think you could probably drive a tanker through it, like a gas tanker or something through it. So that was pretty incredible. And then they leave ponchos out for you right there at the entrance so that you can keep yourself from getting totally soaked. And depending on the wind direction, that was interesting too. I had forgotten my easel lights, so I wanted to do a night painting of the falls. And I went down and started it, and then it got too dark. So the next day I went and found the only light I could find in a store. I found a little convenience store, and they sold me a plastic flashlight for $5 Canadian plus their taxes are like 30%. So their taxes are crazy. That was the other thing was the surprise on the taxes in Canada. But before I did that, I had started, the first night I was there, I said, I don't want to just sit in my hotel room. I'm going to book it down the hill to the falls. Now, there's a hill. It's a hike. And it is a hike coming back up it, but I did it many times. So I ventured out. I said, I can see the falls from my room. I'm going to go down the hill and paint. And I want to see them in person. All my coworkers weren't there yet. I was there a day early. And so I thought, this is a perfect time. I'm going to start painting. So I started painting, and it was dusk. It was like, by the time my plane got in and I got across the border and then got into the hotel, it was already, I want to say it was 6 or 6:30. So by the time I got down there, it was 7 o'clock, 7:30 by the time I set up. So I didn't have a ton of light, and I painted until I did not have a light because I had no light. So anyway, long story short, the next day I was out painting, and I did 2 daylight scenes, like different scenes from that, because I thought I'll come back at night. So then I went back at night, and it was all a different scene. I got there too late, and so I started another painting and got moved because I was in the area that they shut down for fireworks. They have fireworks at 10 p.m. for 5 minutes every night. And what I didn't know is that at 9 p.m., all of their security police team, there's a whole section, special unit that come out and they tape off with caution tape an entire section in front of the falls, which is exactly where I set up, of course. And you get kicked out. And then in the meantime, everybody who knows this has lined up in the area that's not taped off. So you can't get to the edge because there are so many tourists lining up for fireworks and photographing it. So I left that night. So then the next morning I thought, well, my evening painting that I started with first looked like a morning painting too. So I thought I'll do the morning. So I go back down. Well, I left the hotel and I thought, is it raining? It was like a light rain. Everything was wet. And I thought, well, maybe it rained last night and it finished. And I can tell I'm getting wet. And I go down there and I was painting in gouache, which is like opaque watercolor. So it's a water-based medium. And I finished that painting and it ended up being my best painting out of the whole set that I did while I was there. But goodness, it was a challenge because there was so much moisture and liquid and water that the whole time I was painting, I just felt like it was a battle. I was just fighting it. So I realized that if the wind, I mentioned to a passerby or something about the rain, and they said, that's not rain, that's mist. So if the wind is blowing towards you, then it feels like rain. It actually acts like it's rain, but it's mist from the falls. That's a long way to say it was mist. Anyway, so I did 4 paintings, I think, before the conference. And then I had to, I was there for work, and then I had to switch my brain and kind of go back to work mode because it's really hard to switch back and forth. And so it was awesome. It was just really an awesome experience. I was thrilled that, my employer is nice enough to let me do that and understanding and, supportive. So afterwards, I stayed an extra day. So while my coworkers were traveling on Friday, because it takes a whole day to get back here, they were traveling back, I was out painting. And they had mentioned to me, why is that not lifting? They had mentioned to me that there it goes. Okay. I kind of just wanted a little bit of light over here so that it looks like it's going across instead of dropping down. So I was exposing some roots just to get that feeling, if you're wondering what I'm doing over here on my painting. Anyway, well, my coworkers, they had mentioned that there was like a midway, like almost like a carnival area, like you would find at the state fair. And I was fascinated by this. I've always wanted to paint. I could see a Ferris wheel at night in distance, and actually I could see it from my hotel room during the day. But I really wanted to see what this was about. It was a mile away. So I walked. I have a bad knee, but I was like, I am doing this. I am going to get my butt over there and see what's going on. So I walked a mile, and as I came up, it was so fun. I found dinosaurs. They had a dinosaur putt-putt in front of the Ferris wheel. And the dinosaurs weren't just static dinosaurs, like they roared and there were jungle noises like bird calls, and like it was a very active putt-putt course that was super fun and exciting. So it was the most fun surprise treat to come across this dinosaur putt-putt while I was on the search for things. So I did 2 paintings of dinosaurs, believe it or not, on my trip. And then on the midway, this is great. I love anything kitschy and just unexpected and a little fun, like a lot fun. So I really like fun things. And there were like Frankenstein's castle was on top of Burger King, and Wendy's was connected to something else. And then there was, like there was Dracula's castle, but there'd be shops and eateries and ice cream stores and everything underneath them. Well, of course, Burger King, connected to Frankenstein's castle, had a big giant Frankenstein eating a burger on top of it. So I did a painting of that. It's my personal favorite from the trip, but that is, I don't think the people, like, it's not going to be a hit painting. It's definitely not. The mark making was fun, but I don't think it's like an award-winning or a sellable painting because it's so bizarre. But the people loved it, and everywhere I went, I became part of whatever that attraction was. So when I painted the falls, I was filmed, I was photographed, people were funny. So many people would stop and chat. So many people would ask permission to photograph or film me, but not everybody. And then you'd have the hysterical passerbys who try to be sneaky. Like, I know what they're doing. They'll walk past and then they'll walk past again, and they're kind of pretending that they're not filming me, but their camera is filming me. And I just thought it was funny. So I met a lot of people. People tagged me. People, some sent me pictures that they took. They were funny. There was a couple girls that had gone by, and on their way back, they stopped and they just started squealing, and they're like, "Oh my goodness, like, we can't believe what you did just while we walked up there and got back. Look." And they showed me the photos they took, because they have photos of it before, and then they took photos afterwards, like where the painting was when they came back across. So that was really fun because people got to see a little more of the process of how it works. And they were really excited to kind of see that and have that photographic evidence of what happened. Let's see. What else? Lebowski asked me a good question. Did anything, while I was in Canada, did anything big and positive happen to you? Well, I mean, the whole trip was big and positive because it was a great experience. I met a lot of people, and I did a number of paintings that I was really excited about. Big positive thing, though, I was there for work, and we were up for an award in our industry that is a massive amount of work and a big achievement. And we did not think that we would win it. We felt like we had the best product that we've come up with so far in the industry, but we've won this award for the past 3 years. So we didn't think a 4th year in a row was possible. Like, we thought that the judging panels, whoever they were, would say anybody but them, anything but them, not them. But we won. So it was a great team experience. It was great for an entire organization. I was incredibly excited and proud of that moment. So it was like the best way to finish the week was to get that award. And then, I kind of felt like, well, that's it. Like after that, nothing's gonna make me nuts or crazy. So I had a little bit of a travel snafu. There were flight delays in Chicago and I missed my connecting flight. However, the airline put me up in a hotel. They were very nice about it, and very helpful. And I really just didn't mind. So, even the Chicago airport, it was crazy. The security, I have never been through the line where they had the dogs present, and they were running people through special lines before you even really had your bags checked or went through the machines. They had us walk in a line, and the dog would come behind and sniff, like that fans blowing on you, and the dog would walk behind and sniff. I don't know if they were looking for bombs. I don't know if they were looking for drugs, or if they were looking for weapons. Like, I have no idea what they were looking for, but it was really fascinating to me the way that they did it, because there were so many people, and it was the first time I think I've ever had to, before I get in the line, before you go to TSA, before they take your photo and check your ID, before you walked through that, you had to show your boarding pass and your ID before you even got in that area. And then you would all line up, and it would come to 3 people across, and the fans are blowing on you, and then there's somebody there, and the TSA officer saying, "And walk." And the 3 of you walk all in a straight line across, and then the guy with the dog walks behind you. And as soon as the guy with the dog gets behind you, then he looks at the next people and he goes, "And walk." And the next 3 people walk. So, that was fascinating. The whole process. Oh, and right before I got there, this was exciting too. I looked up, and above us was a big dinosaur tail. So I'm sure that they had some kind of bones to promote the field museum, which I would have loved to have had time to stay a day and go to the field museum, but I didn't. So womp womp. I can't complain though. It was such a great trip. I really, no complaints. It was all good. Everything was fine. So let's see what else happened. I found a secret garden. So I wanted to go to, what is it called? I keep forgetting the name of it. It's not Bird Encounters. It's Bird Kingdom. That's what it was. I always forget that kingdom name. So I'd seen that when we drove in, and fun fact, when I was in college, I bought a Goffin's cockatoo. So it was a small cockatoo. I've always loved birds. I love birds, and I love large birds. And I had gone into our local pet store, and somebody had surrendered him, I think. Now I know why, because he was a handful. His name was Beethoven. And I bought him, and I had him in college, but my parents ended up having him for a while. Like they kept him for quite a while for me. He was a handful. He knew how to escape. He would tear out the bottom of his cage to get out. He ate a dresser. What else did he eat? He loved to shred wood. So he ate part of my bedroom dresser from when I was a kid. He bit my mom really bad on the temple. So he would cuddle up with you, and he was big. He's up to here. And he would snuggle up against you, and then out of the blue, he might bite you. You just never knew with this guy. And he hated all my boyfriends. He thought I was his mate. And so there was no way anybody was ever going to be on his good side who I was dating. Just was not going to happen. And I found through a friend, I found a lady who lived in Erie, Pennsylvania, who had the same breed of cockatoo that he was. And she had other birds. And she was really, like, she stayed at home. She worked with them. She would change out their toys. You have to, they're kind of like kids. You really have to spend the time with them and work with them. And so I gave him to her, and he had a happy bird life. He's probably still alive. They live forever. Anyway, that was my bird tangent. So they had Bird Kingdom. I was talking about Bird Kingdom is where I was started with that tangent. And I paid an extra $12.99, which cracks me up, to hold a macaw. So I got to hold, like they have a bunch of birds in there, all surrendered birds. And then to help raise money, they'll let you hold one, and you go up to the second floor, and then you wait in line, and the birds have to be in the mood. So I thought I would get Arthur because he was being a pill, but he was like I was talking to him and he seemed interested, and I thought maybe he'd come down for me, but Arthur was not having it. So I got Jojo, the red macaw, who was food motivated, definitely snack motivated. Jojo just wanted snacks. But really sweet and beautiful bird. And then they had unusual birds. Like you walk through the exhibit and it's all in ramps. Like you go to the top and then you come down the ramps. And as you're walking down, they've got it's a huge aviary. So it's older. It's an older exhibit, but what a great habitat for birds that are being surrendered or injured that can't be in the wild. So they had a huge waterfall feature that looked like it was part of a Mayan temple, and giant palm trees and lots of lush things. And, they could fly, so they could just roam free. They weren't in cages at all. All of them were in the exhibit with you. Still wild birds. They weren't ones that would just go exploring, but they were so used to humans that you got really good photographs. So I got some great reference photos for artwork and for teaching, because there were things that were inspiring, like the patterns and the unusual bird, the feathering was fabulous. So just great resource photos, and then a number of white birds that I wanted to photograph because they're great to use when you're doing color studies or working on mastering light. White live animals are really good to show color, temperature, and shift. So that was a fun side trip. But when I went, because I was walking, I didn't Uber. I said, I need to exercise. I'm going to walk. So because I was walking, it was really neat. I was able to see and find things that I would not have discovered otherwise. And one of those was this beautiful garden down below the Clifton Hill, which was like the amusement park area. This beautiful garden. So it was like an entire city block that was devoted to all these gardens, and it was tiered because it goes down the hill. And then it almost looked like something in Italy, like the way they had these walkways with terraces and like small buildings, but they were hollow that you would walk through, that looked like old stone buildings. But then there was like a whole little hidden garden pond area. And so I painted there, and my painting's it's pretty, but it was of the reflections in the pond. So everything's it's a little confusing to look at, but I liked doing the study because I'd like to do a studio piece. These children came while I was painting, and I was smart enough. I knew people would come by and look and I'd get them in the reflections, but I never imagined that I'd get such a great resource of these 4 kids. So these 4 kids came with their mom, and I think they were on a trip, but they came and sat on the rock and peered into the water, and I got all these photos of them in the positions of them looking and their reflections in the water, and it was so beautiful. I think it would just be an amazing painting, like just a beautiful watercolor. So I want to do that just as like a personal study piece and showpiece, because I think it would just be just gorgeous. You know, and to see the little kids these days, they still had the magic of discovery. You know, like they weren't sitting there or on their parents' phones. They're going through nature and discovering things, and I really, really loved that. So it was kind of it was like a very special place to find and to get to paint. So that was what I thought was my last painting, except for I had to wait so long for my flight that I got my paints out in the airport. And it was sunset, and there was this fabulous, the luggage carts, the shadows the luggage carts were making was just, I couldn't resist. So I did a goofy little painting of the luggage carts at the airport, which was really fun to kind of play with light. So that was Canada. Let's see. So we have this, hi, whoever joined us, welcome. Thanks so much for joining. I just rambled on and on and on about my Canada trip. I did have news. So today I had a very, very exciting day. Right before I left, I had done a piece for the dinosaur series that I haven't really talked about or revealed much. And what happened was another artist friend who manages the gallery in Los Alamos at the library. They have a beautiful gallery at the Los Alamos Public Library. And yes, that's the Los Alamos, as in, you know, like the atomic bomb, Los Alamos. They have a fabulous library and gorgeous gallery on the top floor. So anyway, she had invited artists she knew to do a self-portrait, and she knew not everybody would have one, so she gave us lots of warning and time to get it done. And I knew that I wanted to paint a piece about this series of work with the dinosaurs. So I had something in mind. I've been doing some sketches, and I had to get it done before I left for Canada because it had to be delivered. The drop-off dates were while I was in Canada, and then the work day I got back from Canada. So that last Monday, this last Monday. So I finished the piece. Frame came in while I was gone, ordered a special frame for it, which is a whole long story about me breaking the frame that I intended to put it in, and, you know, thinking I was going to be frugal, and it ended up costing me an arm and a leg, and that was okay because I really love the look of it in the frame. So, delivered the painting, took it up, and the show has a closing reception in mid-October. And I think it's just the whole thing. They're fabulous artworks, just beautiful artworks. Super excited. But then the gallery manager wrote me and sent me pictures today and said, you've got to get a few copies of Pasa Tiempo, which is the weekend art section that comes in the Santa Fe New Mexican. And she sent me this picture, and I went all around town and finally got my hands on the last copy of it. And if I can find it in here, because every time I go in here, I can't find it. Okay, there it is. Ah, I'm so excited. So I painted this portrait. So it's featured in here and then on the website. And like, how exciting is that to have my dinosaur piece self-portrait in here. But I wanted to create a piece that talked about bringing these dinosaurs to life through art. And I had created it knowing that I would exhibit it with this show. So that was my super fun surprise. I was so excited. Goodness, that was exciting. So pretty fun day today. Okay. So bring this back over here. It's getting closer. I keep, like trying to work all these little nooks and crannies, and there's so much paint on here. I have to wait for it to dry so I can kind of see how it's acting and looking. And I know it gets really dark in there, but I think it's lovely. It looks like a really dark forest, which is what I wanted. And I also really wanted I had to get these down, this root system. This is starting to come together really nice right here. It's not quite there, but it's getting closer. So I wanted this root system to drop down and merge into this fin so you don't notice it as much. So that's part of hiding this in with the background. And back over here with this gold. I love these two colors in here. I'll bring that down all the way down to here. Play with that more. So I think my hardest thing right now is how to split my time. I've got personal large studio pieces that I want to work on. Like I said, that garden piece with the kids, other fun pieces like that I've just been inspired with, things that I encounter. And then I have things like I want to do some large, serious work to take up to Legends of the West gallery that are really big, in-depth pieces for my mind for Route 66. So I've got some serious Route 66 art I want to spend some time on. And then I also have these dinosaur pieces, and I feel like they're evolving. So like when I'm looking at this piece, I love the mark making, and I love the medium, love the watercolor medium and how this is coming out. So I really want to take the pieces now that I've done and make them gigantic, with watercolor and make them really beautiful. So I love the kiss piece that I did. Absolutely love that. But I could see where it would be really beautiful if I make it more of a natural scene than stylized towards Klimt's style. So I'm kind of thinking of taking them even further than they are so that they're my style. loosely referenced and inspired by these master artworks. So that's kind of where I am on things right now. Like this one, I think goes well with the dinosaur with the pearl earring. It really works together well. So those will hang really well together. So I'd like to get the rest of the body of the work to look like they all match. And they don't all match yet. So that is a lot of time. And here's the problem is I love to travel and I've got so many trips, so very many trips scheduled. So right now I've got, in a week, I leave for Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, which is also known as Door County, Wisconsin. And that is with Streamline Publishing. Eric Rhodes is hosting a fall color week. I went last year in Pacific Grove, Monterey Bay, and it was such an incredible experience. I felt like it was something I had to do again. Like, to have the opportunity to go somewhere and everything is thought out. So they know, we meet in the mornings and they tell us what is on the agenda, where we're going to be painting. And they've already met with all the local artists and they've gotten all the information for the best locations to paint. And so you don't run around trying to figure out yourself. You don't have to, because they've done all that work for you. I can't even begin to explain what that means, because it takes so much time to discover an area and all the places to paint in an area. Like when I went to Canada, I had to figure it all out on my own. So there was a lot of walking time. And it was fun. And that was part of that trip and the discovery of it. But it's even better when it's all done for you and they just give you a map of where to go. That's magic. So I'm going there. And then I leave there and I'm flying directly to Tennessee, Knoxville, Tennessee. And there's an artist that I just love. Her name is Kathy Odom, and she is one of the most joyful painters I have ever met, so far in my career. And you just want to be around her. And so she's having what's called a home week. And once again, you go and it's not about classroom or working or learning to paint like they paint. She's going to take us to all of her favorite paint locations. So your boss said I don't pay to run laps. Squirrel Reaper, oh my goodness. Was that for a work trip? Yeah, I am kind of lucky that my boss is so understanding and was willing to let me, on a business trip, go and paint in any free time I had. And then also go in early. Like that was, they were flying me there anyway, but I didn't have the cost of a flight. I had, I paid on my own dime the extra hotel time. An old job. You were a cook, so when you went back and got a few things, you didn't use a proper big bowl to get it at once. He would say that. Man, that's a tough gig. Like that's a tough gig already as it is, but I'm sure you don't miss that. Okay, I'm going to lift some color out of this because I think I was getting a little too wildly dark in his fin. And then this line. I should have taped it. I know I should have taped it. I've talked to myself about that. I was like, Wendy, you should just tape that line. Did I tape it? No. Have I yet taped it to tape it? No. Maybe tonight after it dries, I'll go and I have really, really tiny thin tape, and I'll tape across just so I don't do any more painting inside that line. No kidding. That would be nice to have fast cooking skills. I am not a chef. Lebowski is good at cooking, but I'm not. Oh, relief gel. So like a block gel. I could have done that too. But if I leave it on too long, it'll dye the paper a little bit. So 20-minute meatball and spaghetti. Oh, that's great. Homemade meatballs, or were they frozen meatballs? Did you cheat at all, or were you all in on from scratch? Because that's pretty impressive. Go over here. I'm trying to darken this stuff up, but not too dark. In here, quick homemade. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Okay, I should see if I have some tracing paper, because I was thinking before I make any big plans for these creatures I want to put, I really want some kind of dinosaur creatures up in my forest. Just a hint of them, just a shadow. And I thought it might be good to play with them in the scale of them, because that might help also give scale, because this guy's really big. So I don't want him to be like Spinosaurus to be little. He's a monstrous critter. And the only way I can really show scale is to have something that interplays with that in the image that you'll go, oh, wait a second. You know, so if there's back in here the hint of a Stegosaurus in here, or a Triceratops, would be really cool to kind of. And I also need to do a little bit of research. Actually, before I get carried away, I need to do some research and see if they lived in the same time period. So it would help to use a dinosaur that is from the same time period as Spinosaurus, or else all the dinosaur experts are going to be laughing at me so hard. Well, that's true. Okay, did you have a salad with it too, or was it just spaghetti and meatballs? Like, was it, we got to eat and we're doing spaghetti and meatballs, or did you actually whip up a salad with it? Because it's really something that should have a salad. Just my opinion. Pogo, what are you doing down there? So I hear my kitten. Anybody have a pet they want to talk about or share? You guys have any pets? She steals all of my art supplies. I think she has a brush down there right now. And I keep getting her toys, but I don't have the heart to take the art supplies away from her until she ruins. She took one brush, and look, it wasn't an expensive brush. You've never had salad with your pasta? Oh, that just doesn't seem right. Garlic bread? Any garlic bread? I'm really dreaming now, huh? Just crazy talk. Garlic bread. All right. Anyway, so Pogo, she has 3 legs. She's named Pogo. Hodgepodge of burgers. This family is hodgepodge of burgers. We do a lot of burgers too. And, you know, for the record, we did not have a vegetable with dinner tonight. It was salmon and wild rice, but it was very tasty. You guys hear all the crashing noises? That is my kitten, by the way. In case you're wondering, if you hear something crash, is my kitten, and she has a paintbrush. Oh yes, she does, and she's probably gonna chomp the middle out of it. So she took one of my flats and she just chomped all of the brushes out of the middle of it. Am I close to the coast? I am not close to the coast. I'm New Mexico. Scroll Reaper, are you in the U.S.? So New Mexico is south of Colorado, east of Arizona, and then what'd you do? My poor kitten is making some horrible noises. I think she has asthma. I gotta get her to the vet. Oh, you're in New Mexico also at the bottom. Oh, cool. Like Las Cruces area? Oh, that is very cool. Roundabout. Very, very cool. Yeah, so as you know, like anytime we go anywhere, it's pretty much quite the adventure. You even more than me. Although you could fly out of El Paso, I'm guessing. But you know, if I go anywhere to the East Coast, I've got to catch pretty much 2 flights. And anytime you've got that second leg, you're doomed these days. It just seems like I'm doomed. In the last few months, I've now missed 2 connecting flights, so I think it's becoming a common thing. Okay. I'll mark that one out a little more. So we've got some really nice darks going on in here. Working through it. I should probably break this line a little bit. I think it's just too much of a line. So cover that up. And it'll look really weird and shiny until it dries. That's getting pretty close. Not there yet. I think this area right here is a little funky. I don't know if it's because I have pulled lights out of it and it just looks a little bit weird or what, but it just needs a little bit of help. So let's break some of it up, add some darks in, pull some of them back. And same in here. I wanted these lines to come down and kind of merge into his little, he's got like a little fin on top of his head. Hey, Lebowski. We've got some nutty stuff going on there. If you're around. Okay. Yeah, this needs work down in here. It's just not quite right. So we'll kind of play with that a little bit. Part of me thinks like I get slower and slower as I paint this because I'm procrastinating or I'm agonizing that I'm going to ruin it. Like, I know that about me. I'm going, oh, I don't want to ruin it. There's certain things I like, and I should not be like that. They say don't get too precious or try to save your babies with your paintings. So I should cut that out. So I don't save my babies. And I might need some resting spots for the eyes because boy, that's busy. So just a little bit of a wash right in here. It sounds like it's gonna rain outside. The wind is blowing. It's kind of nice fall. I don't know if anybody else loves fall, but I love fall. I love sweater season. I think part of that's just to, like, you know, hide some of the chunk, but that's okay. Oh, it's raining, huh? Pokes, did you fall asleep? Let me talk to my kitty cat. Okay. Let's see. A little more. I swear I did. Just dropped some paint on that. Let's bring some color into this fin right here. And then on down, back in here. Okay, let's take a look at where we are. So we're getting there. Let's see. You moderately cheap viewers carefully get the $100 PS4 with 2 controllers and 3 games. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of fin work while I listen to the rain outside. It sure is nice sounding. It's the wind's blowing. Might need to close my window here in a minute. It starts coming in. I have my window open so that the fresh air, I love the fresh air. Really, I just want to be outside all the time. And then when it rains, I have this weird thing. I want to go outside when it's raining. So my best friend learned this on one of our trips. We had gone to Utah to paint. And we had this whopper of a storm. And all I wanted to do was go out in the storm. I just couldn't even stand it. So finally we went driving and exploring because I just felt trapped like an animal in the rental unit. You're funny. Yes, I know. Yeah, the cheap viewers. Cheap viewers. Whatever that is. Stretch those dollars. It's so funny because I'm like, little me, like, really? You're going to try to, like, scam or steal viewers when I've, you know, like, it's me. It's not like I'm here on a Friday night, like, talk about little old lady who has nothing better to do, and I'm painting dinosaurs on a Friday night. Come on. It's not like man, some of these streamers, it's impressive. You got all kinds of viewers. Ooh, that's a little dark. I did not mean to make it that dark, but I kind of like the stripe. Like, he could have striping like that. I like the variety, the idea of the variety. So that's kind of cool. That was an accident, but I think it has potential to give him like stripes. So if I went in here and built in some really dark stripings on the back end of his fin. And don't panic, this is first round, so I'm adding a little bit of brown too. And then cutting this down there, because I kind of like that. It's kind of an interesting concept. Almost like a zebra stripe in a way, like if that would be on his fins in the back. Oh, robot numbers. Hey, I could use some of those. Hey, Lebowski, why aren't you hooking me up with some of those robots? We'll just skyrocket my viewers to crazy numbers. Be like the most popular dinosaur painter ever. Twitch be like, yeah, we don't know what's up with Friday nights, man. It's like the most popular window. It's a relatively unknown streamer, and just like totally the numbers are just rocking. Oh, I'm liking that. You know what? It reminds me a little bit of like Cleopatra or some kind of an Egyptian pharaoh with that, the way that goes into that tail. I like that a lot. I'm gonna soften this edge and let it crawl around a little bit. Just kind of give it some water to work with. So I'm just wetting it and then kind of pushing it around a little so that it'll crawl. In case you're wondering how to do that. And then I'm going to soften this edge with water. Just kind of thin it out a little bit. Same in here. Alright. That's kind of cool. And then I think I would have a very almost blue... Your robots are busy trying to destabilize the global order. Oh my gosh, we got a robot. That's great. Love your robot. Skull Reaper, that's funny. Lebowski, your robots need to be a little more productive and get me some viewers. They're underachievers. Oh, word to the wise, if you're ever on a business trip, don't ever sing on a bus with people who are salespeople, because they will remember you and then later call you out in email. Yes, that happened. Because our bus passed the Copacabana, and how can you not sing the Copacabana when you pass the Copacabana on the street? Like, they actually had a Copacabana restaurant in Niagara Falls, which I think is like the best. How fun is that, right? At the Copacabana. So, yes, my boss and I made the dreadful error of singing it loudly. No alcohol was involved, and yet we sang it in public with strangers on a bus. One of my finer moments. Yeah, at the Taco Cabana. Meanwhile, Squirrel Reaper, you've got like an entire entourage of robots going on. That one makes me think of, I don't know if you ever watched The Fifth Element. Oh my gosh, I love that movie. But do you remember where there's the little, he looks like a little mini, um, almost like an elephant. He has a little trunk. And when the bad guy chokes in the scene, and he tries to hits the button, and then the little vacuum elephant comes out and can't reach him. It was so awesome. I don't know that it was quite a robot, but it was that same kind of concept. It was like a critter robot. All right. So cool. That's so I don't know. This is so Egyptian, the way that looks. I do think I need to warm it up in the middle, but I'm going to have to wait a little bit to do that. So I'll have to play with that later. Pull some of this out in here. I need to hide a little bit of it with the root system, just so it's not so, I don't know, obvious. I want him hidden a little bit. I want you to kind of, him to sneak up on you and you see him. So I think that this rock right here needs to be more covered in moss. So we're going to go back into this green, and I kind of want to dab it on top of this rock and see what I can get. So, you know, like it's coming up out of the water, but it's up on here. I think it's going to be really moldy and kind of, maybe we add some blue in there. Let's throw some blue in. Right in like blue black mold coming in. And then a little more blue towards the water line. These are granulating colors, and what that means is like the pigments separate, and so they're not a flat wash. They'll have like a grain kind of look to them. So I'll pull some of it off because I don't want it solid black. I want it nice and dark above his snout. And boy, it is really raining. Taco Cabana. Yeah, it's probably super expensive to license it. That's probably why they haven't done it. Or they think it's too obvious. I think it would be a brilliant campaign. I mean, come on. Just like, really? It's a no-brainer. All right, we're gonna have to wait and see what that looks like as it dries, and if I don't like it, then I can lift some of that color off of there. Okay. But I can also bring some more green down here behind him. I don't know if you guys can hear that rain, but wowzer, it is pouring out. Work in clean water. I'm gonna lift some of this up a little bit. Maybe add a little more warmth. I have a pinky color. It's not it. Did I run out of it? I might have mixed it with stuff. Sienna. I think some of this rock would have a little more of this in here. Oh, and I just messed my white line up again. Again. Okay. Let's try to get my line fixed. I don't know if I'm going to end up having to like paint a little gouache along that line or really work on lifting it just to make it work, but it's got some work to do. Bring some of this color into there. That's going to need a lot more darkness underneath, but it's pretty wet right now, so I'm going to wait and see what happens. Let's let this dry in there, in that corner. Okay, let's go back over and see what's going on over here. How wet it is, and if I can add a little bit of gold and just like an ochre kind of light color. Nice. Let's stripe a little bit with that light white. Let's camouflage a little bit of that top bar. Once again, right through my line. Right through my line. let's see if I got a clean brush. There we go. Oh, look. This one looks like I just went for it and never even saw that it went right through my line. So, there you go. Well, that's a bummer. I have really got to get something down on that. All right. Noodling, noodling, canoodling. Soften some of these. So sometimes, like, it'll dry and I'll say, oh, that looks, it's too hard of an edge. We're going to soften some of it. Oh, look, I have paint on my arm. Let's see. There, I'll show you guys. That is so funny. I must have put it down on that. All right, a little more blue. Let's work some blue. So I really like the idea of the blue in here. And when I place it, it's very rich, but when I wash it thin, it will, I must have the indigo. That must be my indigo. It's not my right blue. It's not the one I intended. We'll go with it, but it's not what I wanted. I was hoping for this one is what I wanted, the Mayan blue. Not indigo, Mayan. Yeah, that's what I want. I think what happened with my Mayan, I have so much gold under it that it looks a little green, which is fine. But where I don't have the gold, it looks really blue. Where I have the gold, it goes a little green. Which is good. That might help pull off my water. Kind of wanted that in here is where I wanted it. Just add a wash in there. What's up, Spicer? Am I on your favorite table? And you think it's time for you to be up here? So in the evenings, my older cat loves to be on this art table that I have. And I think she's mad right now because I'm on it and she's not. And she's just gonna have to get over it. So I could take a little bit of, first I need something with a good point. And then I'm gonna go in here with this blue, this Mayan blue. And hopefully add a little more just around his teeth. Make them nice and sharp. Now I'll run blue over them again So they look like they're underwater and they're not too shiny. So we will do that. He's such a fun guy. So cool. So cool. He's just so cool. So these are just glazes. I mean, basically what I'm doing is glazing the color over and over and over to build it up nice and slow. And it gives us this really rich, gorgeous color. And then if it gets too dark, I can lift some of it out on this paper because it's a hot press paper. So I really like the ability to lift it. I'm just gonna throw some more purple in here while I've got it. Big, we have just a few minutes left. I have had a long week. I know I always say that on Friday nights. I'm like, wow, it's just a long week. So I'm sure that everybody else on here and everybody who's watching has had a hard week too. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight and being here. All the robot emojis, Scroll Reaper. That's awesome. Pogo, are you losing your patience? The kitten is losing her patience. Not that she has a lot of it, but this is about the time she starts to crack. Huh. And if I had a chair close enough, you would totally walk all over this painting and bomb me. I know it. I know how you roll. The bottom here I've been working on, let me push this up a little bit for you so you can kind of get an idea. You can kind of see I'm really starting to try to build it up so that it's murky and mossy, and there's a lot of magical hidden things down in here. You can't really tell, it's just a mess of stuff. Foliage and dust particles and rocks. So I keep layering it and building it up. Oh, thank you so much for watching. You're awesome. You guys are great. I'm always happy, like it's like just coming in and then just creating and having somebody there chatting, and it's always fun. So thank you guys. Hopefully we can find an amazing, I can get my act together and work on these a little faster. I have got to speed it up. And then really find a good home for them to, or at least a temporary exhibit. I really think they need to be exhibited at a natural history museum. So I'm going to start locally here. They'll be open in 6 months, and maybe it would be a good thing to have when they open again. They're closed for renovation. But in the meantime, that gives me some time to kind of pull some really good stuff together and see if I can have something that looks like they all belong together and would be a really great show, because I think it would be fun for everybody to learn about other artists and the different dinosaurs and be creative and curious, and I think it would be really cool for kids. So it's a goal. I keep going. Ooh, one more little thing right there. Put a little mark right in here. And then rinse it a little bit to soften it. Hide some of those pieces here. Nice, just like that, maybe. Okay. All right, guys, I am out of here. It's almost 8 o'clock. I've not done a full round today. I was running a little late coming home. But I really appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great weekend. Do something fun and amazing. Enjoy the beginning of fall and the fact it's raining right now, which is great for New Mexico. We need the water. And keep being awesome. That's all I got. Good night, everybody.